All right, friends, so first of all, welcome back. As I said, we're going to look at a brake change on a GM axle, 1-ton floating axle. This is out of a 78, I believe. No, that's an 85, I'm sorry. Nevertheless, I'll verify the year exactly. The axle is actually out of a motor home. It's being installed on a 1968 International truck, and I thought I'd go step by step just in case anybody wants to tackle this. There are a few nuances to these brakes and things that we can cover. So first of all, we're going to just pop that wheel off. We're going to take these bolts out of the floating axle right over here. I'm going to pop these guys out, pull this axle out, and then I'll show you how to the retaining ring and the nut and how to get that out of there. And then we'll rebuild it, go step by step. These are old, so I got to take everything apart, clean it, repaint it, all that junk. So enjoy. Before we get started, I want to apologize up front. The noise you hear on the rain on the roof, this is South Louisiana, and Hurricane Francine is inbound, so I don't know how much filming I'll get done before it gets too noisy or loud out here, and we may end up stopping at that point. But nothing better to do on a rainy hurricane day than a brake change. Three-quarter inch wrench, socket, and impact. I would suggest you put a pan underneath there just in case it not a bad idea to have gloves or rags available when you're doing this, because it's going to get dirty. So, axle pulls right out. There's a ring on here. You might make sure you keep that in place. And the axle pulled out side to side. A little bit of oil dripping out. Okay, so give you a bird's eye view here. Like I said, some oil draining out of that axle, and probably from when I lifted it up on the other side, it ran down this way. Right here, you follow the look at the scribe there, there's a little retaining ring. I'm going to pop that guy off. It comes right out of there, just like that. We'll put him down here. And then what we got to do is we got to pull out this little square deal. Keyway, pull that out of the keyway, and we're going to turn this nut backwards. I'll give you a view of that as we do it, but this was the easiest way to get close. I'll lower a tripod and get it in there while we're doing that. Okay, so we're going to take that keyway out right there. Sorry about the camera angle, but I got to get in front of this. And needle nose vice grips pulled right out. And now we're going to spin this nut to the left. If you have a special tool you can hook up inside of these notches here. In my case, we'll be using a punch and a hammer, and I'll do that shortly. Okay, punch, get down on these grooves, start tapping it. Sounds obvious, but there's nothing that goes on one way. So when you put it back on, make sure you don't actually flip it over and you have to try to get it off. Alright, once that's done, you're ready to pull that hub. We're going to do that in just a minute. If your brakes are well adjusted and they're up into the drum, you might have to loosen them up from the back first. and I'll point that out once I have it off, where you would do that minor loose, so I'm not worried about it. I should be able to just pull that off, and you can see it's already coming off. So I'm going to lift it off here in a minute. Make sure you use proper lifting techniques. That thing's heavy. Alright, so looking at it, like I said, it gets a little messy. This one's been sitting a while. Some spider friends in here. So we got our brake cylinder, springs. I got new springs, new brake cylinder. There's your tightener adjustment bar. You got replacements for that. But if you have to adjust this thing to get it loose, you're going to spin this backwards. And there's a notch in the back right here. See my finger? And you can pop your adjusting tool in there, and then wind that little cog backwards, and get a little bit of room. Have a brake tool kit. Those are handy. They got all the tools you need in there. The one I'm using right now is the one for removing the round springs. Again, you can use vice grips for that too if you need to. When an adjuster comes off, it's going to have a little piece like this. Make sure that you hang on to it. Don't lose that. You're going to need to take this this little guy right here, this snap ring off, and this parking brake assembly has to come off of here, so don't forget to do that. Alright, so we had some mystery fluid in here, but here's some evidence. We had a leaking brake cylinder, so that explains some of the fluid that was coming out when we pulled this hub off. So we'll change that. The backing plate is all rusty, like I said. We're going to pull those 4 bolts right there. Pop that guy off. You got to pull that parking brake cable out of there, and we'll take it all apart, paint it, put it back together. It'll make sense. I'm not sure how much of this footage will get on here because some of it can be done on the install. So we're just going to take pictures as we go and then figure it out. So another note, we're going to pull this cable out. This parking brake cable. It's got little pieces that are stuck up there. I just already got them loose, but if you put a pair of vice grips on there, so here we are. Emergency brake, the parking brake cable's out. Those are the holes that I was talking about as far as you can take your adjuster there and back off the brake if you need to. And you can run it up when you initially do it. When you initially put your new brakes on, you can get your initial adjustment. We're going to pop off the save that guy, take off that brake cylinder, 2 bolts in the back, brake line, and then those 4 bolts right there. I'm changing brake lines, so it doesn't matter to me, but a lot of times that's a booger to get those loose, so be careful with that. And that's where we're at. Again, reassembly will look a lot nicer. I think it'll make sense, and hope this helps. I'm going to spray some penetrating oil on here. I'm going to back these guys out. That's going to take this rear unit off. I'm waiting for that to dry. I mean, that to lubricate. I'm going to pop that brake cylinder off the back. This is a 3/4 inch socket right there. You're going to need a long extension. Done the right way, it would help. Bolts for the brake cylinder are 3. Again, like I said, these nuts are convex. If the convex side goes out, that side goes back towards the vacuum plate. There are no washers with this, so we'll just hold on to those nuts. You're going to need them. Once that's loose, this guy should come off, but it's rusty. So. There we go. So from here on out, let's clean up, which is for me is wire brushes and some solvent. Not going to bore you with cleaning things up. Hopefully that's something that we all know how to do. Okay, when we started this project, I was on the other side and there was a hurricane coming and the power went out and all those things affected me filming this, so I went ahead and finished it without power and without a camera. So I'm on the other side. I'm on the left side now, but I wanted to point out a few things before we go. So the tear down was on the right. It's the same as the left. I've already put on the brake cylinder right there. That's pretty straightforward, but the key point to all of this is, and I found this one installed backwards when I took it apart, is that the brake shoes come in 2 different configurations. So you have a short one, which is the one on my finger here. This pad is shorter, and it's also thinner than this one is. You can see it's thicker and it's longer. The short one goes to the front. Okay, make sure that's on the front side when you're doing it. If you get it backwards, they'll hang up and it won't break correctly. So anyway, watch that when you're putting it together. So I'm going to pause the film right now, get these shoes hung on here. We got to put them on these these clips and such, and they're a real pain, so I'll get that snapped together and then we'll kind of go through the process. Okay, that went better than I thought it would, but anyway, put the first one on with a little spring clip. I'm putting this spring here temporarily to hold the front shoe just so it's in place. Now the back shoe, like we talked about before, is longer and thicker, and that's also where your automatic adjuster goes. So next step is to take and install the automatic adjuster. Automatic adjuster right there, and actually I'm sorry, it goes in that spot right there. So I got to put that little bushing in there to hold that. So I use the 3/8 deep well to tap that in. Once that's on, we'll install it on here and then start putting it back together. The spring will come back off temporarily, but right now it holds everything in place. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Bushing, 3/8 deep well. I'll hold that guy in place. I already have the spring installed on this little secondary piece here because it falls out easy enough. And then now that I have that, I will stick it up on here and fasten it down to the backing plate. Alright, so we're going to put the parking brake lever on right here. Make sure it has a little washer on it, with the spring washer behind the side of the marker here. And then go from the back side. Snapped on, swings back and forth. Put this on here. I'm going to put the little bar for the automatic adjuster on here to help hold this in place while I connect it. So I'll connect it right here. Line these up, get this thing turned vertical so I know what it's doing. My little clip on here. Tool. There we go. Games begin. Quarter turn, a little more, it's locked in. Should go that simple, although I've fought with these a lot longer than that. So again, this little piece up here helps hold in place for me while I'm putting these on. I did the same thing with the spring. I'll pop these back off when I put the adjuster in here, and we'll get it together. So adjuster's here. Pop it in here, no springs are in the way. Set this guy up. Get out of here. Adjuster's in play. And then we're going to get the bottom spring. Okay, so make sure that thing's wound down before you try to put it in there. Make it a little easier to put the spring on. I can stay out of the way while I do this. Alright, I'm gonna go over here. That's good, a little better. There we go. Come on. There it is. Hopefully I was out of the way for that. Got spring on, this adjuster's in place. Spring's on, this spring's on. We'll get these on in a minute. That'll be that. So, hopefully the visual's still okay. Pop these off. Put our little retaining pin clip. Couple things here. Make sure you hook up your emergency or your parking brake cable. It's locked in place now. Take this little bar deal. This way. So, bend is out. So now we're going to pop these off and get them out of the way. We talked about that earlier. Now this guy's going to go right on. There's no spring pressure in the way. In there, catches the parking brake lever. Now we're ready for the retaining washer. Keep you guys in place. Put this guy back on. We'll bring this one back on. Okay. Everything's in place, it's lines are straight. Make sure this thing's back all the way. Everything's where it's supposed to be. Actuator pins are in place, springs here, springs here. I got one more spring to hook up. Bring this to here. This makes my self-tightening or self-adjusting mechanism work. Grab that guy. so last spring here, make sure it had the dry way in the back of the look. I'm gonna take it apart. But spring towards the shoe, longer piece out. There she is. Right there, locked in here, everything works. Now we're gonna adjust this adjuster out before we put the drum back on. Make sure everything's working right. And I can take the bar from the back here later. Crank it out if we need to. Everything's in place, everything's solid, nothing loose. Working brake in place. Bars here, pins are here, springs are here. Everything's locked down, we're good to go. We're going to hang the drum now. And it's not too tight, slid right on. Like I said, I'll adjust those brakes with that tool there after I'm together. I'll just go through the install process real quick. So the nut has grooves on this side, flat on this side. Make sure the flat side's in so you don't have to take it back off. A lot of this, for me, I hadn't done it in many years, so a little refresher course. So hopefully this saves you all a little bit of aggravation and you don't have to refresh it yourself because I've already done it. Spin this guy on. Yes, they make a tool for this, but the punch works just fine. Come out, I got a groove right there for my keyway. So all I'm going to do is I'm snugged up now. It's not coming off or anywhere. I'm up there, and I'm about the width of a keyway off. So I'm just going to tap it until I line it up. All right, so I'll show you that. So the keyways are lined up now. We simply slide her in there. And then we'll put our retaining spring on there. And then our axle back in. So I apologize now because the camera's in front of me, so I'm reaching around it. This little pin right here, this you see this washer points down, or the spring points down right there. That we need to put inside of the groove. Bring this guy around with your screwdriver. It's pretty simple. Just slide it down in there. That springs all the way in. It'll lock in those threads. Stop that retaining pin from coming out. And that's all there is to it. So now we're going to slide the axle in here. Make sure this is clean. Tighten these bolts up. And this brake's done. Okay, final steps, putting in the axle. Wipe down the surface, got it clean. Kind of repeat that process of cleaning that steel washer that acts as a gasket. Make sure it's good and clean. There's nothing in there. Not much oil gets out here, but as you saw some oil dripping when I took it apart, well, I had the other side jacked up for a while when I was changing that other brake, and the oil ran this direction. So a little bit of oil does get out here, gets on the bearings, which is good. And we want to make sure this is cleaned up and installed on here. Like so. I gotta get that axle lined up. There we go. Again, gears are locking in. I'll line that gasket the way it was before. Alright, it's good and tight. And freely, a little too freely. I'll take this and adjust the brake. Just touching, really all I want. And I'll let it go for there. So once I hook up the brakes, once I back up the first time, that self-adjuster will tighten them up to where they want to be, and we're golden. Okay, that wraps it up. Wheels back on. I'm gonna take it off the jack, and I'm just gonna roll it this direction, take it off the jack, clean up a little bit. But that's the floating axle, dual wheel, 3.5 inch drum, 3.5 inch brake shoe, GM, like it's a 1985. Drum brake change. Again, most of us don't have to do that anymore since we run disc brakes on everything, but if you're in one of these and you have to fix it, hopefully this helps you.